today, going to have episode number 2, talking about antique booths, and the Three Musketeers include myself, Tam from Tam's Place. Say hi, Tam.
Hello.
How you doing, Tam?
Doing good.
Awesome. And we also have Tanya from Thrifty Treasures. How's Tanya?
Hey, everybody. Glad to be here, ready for the show.
Awesome. Well, today we're going to be talking about when you should be buying seasonal items, when you should be stocking seasonal items, and just talking about the basic seasons and what does best for us or what doesn't do so good. So you guys ready to jump in?
Yes, ma'am.
Ready to go. Fire away.
So if you're watching this live and you want to ask us a question, just go in the chat and type in question in capital letters and then your question so we can see it easily. And if you're watching this later and you want to leave a comment, then all of us kind of keep an eye on the comments and we will answer what we can in the comment section down below. Also, please thumbs up and subscribe to myself, Pudgy Picker. I cannot for the life of me figure out how to get the bottom line with my name on there. So I just want to have my smiling face there. So, hey, I got everything else high-tech figured out this morning. So at that point, you know, that's I'm glad it's only that. So, so I guess subscribe, of course, to me, to Tam at Tam's Place, and also Tanya at Thrifty Treasures. Okay, so if you got a question, oh, I got a compliment already in the chat. You know, I'm not in front of the camera as much on my channel, so now that Tanya has handheld me through this process, I will probably be doing more streaming. So
yeah, that's exciting.
Yay!
Because if I learn something and I don't use it, then it's gone. So
yeah, I'm the same
okay.
way.
So I guess we'll start with Tam, and we'll ask, when do you buy seasonal merchandise? We'll ask that part first.
Well, since I've only been doing this since like February, I've been buying it all year long for all the different seasons. My husband and I were talking the other night, and I don't know that I'm going to buy, and I think you and I had this conversation too, Jen, stuff for like seasons that are like Halloween, that's like one day, or Easter, that's like one day, but more fall and spring stuff instead of those holidays that are just, you know, maybe, well, I guess you could call it like a week or whatever. I don't know. I haven't really, as far as like Halloween stuff, I've got a few things in there for Halloween right now. I haven't sold anything. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if, you know, but as far as like seasonal items, I've been just buying all year round. And if I find something for spring, or if I find something the season's past, or if I find something for Christmas, I just put it back and wait till that season comes along. So,
okay.
Yep, all year long.
When are you buying your seasonal merchandise?
I have to agree with Tam. I definitely buy all year long at the garage sales, the thrift stores. If it's something really good, I can't just leave it sitting there. I have to buy it.
Yep.
You know, and that's probably the best time to buy stuff is when it is not in season. So,
yeah,
or right after a season has passed.
Yeah.
So I guess too, Tam, where do you buy your seasonal merchandise from?
Pretty much everywhere, garage sales, thrift stores. I did have a time a couple years ago that I went to a home decor store. I won't mention the name of it, but they sell lots of really cute things, and lots of people like this place. But anyway, they had a lot of their fall stuff clearanced at like 75% off. And I went there, and I told the manager that I would like to buy a lot of stuff in bulk. And so he said, oh, well, if you're going to do that, then I'll discount it for you even more. So I got out
Wow.
of there with about 3 big, huge bags of all fall stuff that would last me plenty through one season and probably through 2 seasons.
That's
So,
awesome.
yeah, bought that
He
stuff
he
there.
was probably really glad to get rid of it too.
Yes, he was actually. He said, yes. He said, I just want to get rid of this stuff. And he said, I don't know that we're going to get rid of it. So if you want to buy it in a big bulk, he said, I'll just, sell it to you at even a cheaper price than what we have it marked for. So that is one thing. When you go to a discount store, big box store or anything like that, it doesn't hurt to talk to the manager and say, hey, if I buy a whole bunch of stuff, would you discount it even more? The worst he can say is no, but
Right.
you can ask. So yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt to ask. I know sometimes, or when you first start doing this, you're kind of shy and you're like, oh, maybe I shouldn't. I'm to the point now where I just say it. And if they say no, just be nice about it. And
Right.
so, but when you think about it, a store, stores have a certain amount of space, and they're paying rent and all that for the same amount of space. So if they have discount items, they're eager to get rid of those so they can bring in fresh new merchandise that's full price or higher price. So it's probably in their best interest to do that as well. So you just never know.
Yep.
So Tanya, where are you getting your seasonal items from?
Well, again, I have to agree with Tam as far as the stores. I'm not necessarily always doing it on purpose, but if I happen to be somewhere and they have a bunch of seasonal decor marked down, heavily discounted, I will definitely pick it up. But for the most part, most of my items are sourced at garage sales and the thrift stores.
Yeah, garage sales are really good for getting stuff cheap, because nobody's thinking about buying a Christmas tree, or nobody's thinking about buying ornaments for snowmen when you're sweating outside, in August. So, I mean, it's like, oh, just take it for a quarter, So that is a good time to really source that stuff, is garage sales. And in my basement where I have, all of my stuff for my booth, I have some really big bins that, have the seasons on them. So when I get something, I can go down there and immediately just put it in that bin. And then when that season rolls around, I'm not scrambling thinking, oh, where did I put that? Or I know I had some around here somewhere.
Yeah.
So I'm able to just pull that bin out, go through, make sure all the original tags are off. And then, if something got a little knocked, and it needs a little bit of glue or something, I can take care of all that, price it, and then it can go straight out to the booth. So if you have the space, it's definitely worth keeping it organized, because when you're ready for that season and people are if the weather cools off a little and everybody's starting to chomp at the bit to buy fall stuff, and you can't find it. I mean, there's a finite amount of time that's going to sell, so you really gotta jump on that when it's time.
I did have a question for you guys though.
Yeah.
When you all buy stuff, when you store it, if it's not going to go to your booth immediately, when you store it, do you keep the price tag on it? So that way, whenever you get ready to put it in your booth, you remember what you paid for it, so you'll know how to price it accordingly? Or do
That's
you
a good idea.
Because I wondered about that, because sometimes tags will fall off or whatever. And I think, I kind of want to leave the price tag on that so I know what I paid for it. So that way I'll know what I need to price it for in my booth if you're not going to be putting it in your booth until the next holiday or something like that.
That's a good question. And around here, I mean, garage sales are seasonal. So I only have, a good 3.5 months to source. So a lot of times I don't think I would have the time to take off the price tags and, give it that extra care. It immediately goes to my basement. And then when I happen to be down there, I'm like, oh boy, some stuff are starting to pile up. So I'll pull out my bins and start chucking stuff in. So, I think I don't really have the time to do that. But if I had the choice, I would probably still do it the same way. Like you said, you got something and you're like, man, I can't remember how much I paid for that. I only paid a quarter. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So that's probably the best way to do it, honestly.
And that's something too. Also, sometimes when I go to garage sales, there's not a price tag on a particular item. If people don't have their stuff priced, you just have to ask. And so then if you're out yard selling and you buy a whole bunch of stuff, when you get back home, you're thinking, what did I pay for that? And then if it's something seasonal, how do you remember what you paid for it so you know what to price it for?
Yeah. I just love garage sales that don't have things priced.
Yeah. That was a huge pet peeve of my mom's. She could not stand that when she went to a yard sale and stuff wasn't priced. She was like, price your stuff.
Yeah. Or what's worse is when things aren't priced and then you're like, hey, how much is this? And they're like, oh. It's like, hey, you know.
I don't know.
That's funny. Melanie May in the chat says, I enter it in my spreadsheet when I buy it and then go ahead and make a price tag for the booth later. So that's something you can, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Melanie's
I don't
very
know.
organized. That's great.
Yeah. It's funny too, because even if things are priced, if I'm buying a lot of stuff, before I go up, or if I have a little pile that I'm at a garage sale, I start adding it up in my mind. And if I get to like $13 or $14, I'll say, you know, then I can say, hey, will you take 10? So a lot of times, even if it doesn't have a price on it, I'm bundling. So, you know, I know it's at that price or lower. So, okay. Well, that brings us into our next question is, now that we have our seasonal items, when are we putting seasonal items out? So I'll start with that. I kind of just go by what the stores are doing. It's kind of hard to think about, you know, scarecrows and pumpkins when it's 92 degrees outside. And this year has been a problem. I know in our area, there's been some weeks it has been hot, even recently.
Yep.
I mean, like today, it's October 4th, and it's going to be 85 in Cleveland today. So I don't know, when you get the cool weather, people start thinking about, you know, fall and all that. So it's kind of hard. You can tell when the weather kind of cools off, things start selling. So I kind of just take my cue from regular stores. I don't like to put it out real super early, you know, for that very reason.
Right.
So, Tanya, when do you start putting stuff out seasonally?
Well, you know, I feel like sometimes people are shopping for Christmas things in July because I don't know about up there, but down here in Texas, they have something called Christmas in July. Do you guys ever hear about that?
Yeah. I've heard of that.
So sometimes, you know, there might be people looking for things to decorate with or things to buy. So if it's a really fun, good piece, I might just go ahead and put it out any time of the year, depending upon like what it is. I mean, I'm not going to put out like scarecrows or anything like Jen said, but you know, if it's like a really cute Christmas Scentsy burner or something like that, for example, I might go ahead and just stick that in the booth anytime. I feel like stuff like that could probably sell year round.
Right.
So Tam, when are you, now that this is kind of this is actually your first, you know, fall and winter season. So how are you going to go about it then, you think?
Well, I wasn't able to collect a lot of stuff back when I started in February for spring. So I've been collecting all throughout the summer for the fall and Christmas season. And then also where I used to have a gift shop, I still had a lot of stuff left over from that, seasonal items that I had left over from that. As far as fall, I started putting fall stuff in my booth probably right after school started.
Yeah, that's a good time.
And I've had fall stuff in there. I still have a few things left in there. I just took I didn't have a whole lot of Halloween stuff, but I just took a few of the Halloween things that I have earlier this week. I took, you know, a few things down there for that. But I think over the next couple of weeks, if the Halloween stuff doesn't sell, then I'm going to go down there and either discount it or take it out and go ahead and start putting Christmas stuff in, probably here within the next couple of weeks. Yeah, because I've noticed that a lot of the booths in my antique mall have already started putting Christmas stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know about you guys, but I mean, it seems like just garage sales for me this summer haven't been so great. So when I pulled out, I had 2 boxes for my fall stuff and opened it up. I was like, whoa, I thought I had more. but this is the first year that's happened to me. Before, usually, I mean, stuff's piling up around my ears in my basement, but I just didn't have as much stuff as I've had previous years.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Same here.
Yeah, so we have a question in the chat. Do you have only one booth or multiple spaces? And if multiple, have variety of all types of things in all booths, or do you have a themed booth? That's a good question.
Yeah.
At one time, when we started, originally we had a single booth, and then I got a half booth. So we had a single booth and a half booth, and then we went to a double booth. So I guess if you do have more than one booth, you could kind of theme them, them out. I guess that's kind of a good idea. What do you guys think? Tanya, you have one space, right?
I have one space. I've tried two before in the past. I did it for about 4 months and it just wasn't working. And honestly, with all the other things I do, it was just too much to try and run two booths. But when I did have the second one, I didn't theme it. It was just, again, just a hodgepodge of everything and all kinds of things. But I think that's a really good idea if you specialize in one certain thing, to have like a theme booth. Like, for example, at my mall, there are people who only sell like, vinyl records, or there's people who only sell handmade woodworked items, those type of things.
Yeah, I don't know. When we had a booth and then a half a booth, sometimes it's just wherever your items will fit.
Right.
I don't know, you're maybe giving us too much credit to think, oh, well, yeah, just, let's theme this here, let's move that there. No, it's like, there's an empty space, throw it in there quick.
Right.
So, Tam, you have one space. You ever think you'll go with more?
Actually, I have my name on the list for a larger booth right now. I haven't decided if I'm going to do that for sure or not, but the owner of the antique mall, she said, go ahead and put your name on there when it comes around. If, I have something available, if you don't want it, you can just let me know and I can go to the next person. So I at least have my name on there just in case. And I have actually thought about, because we do have like shelving units also, and I think those are $45 for a shelving unit. So I actually have thought about, doing a second smaller booth and maybe doing, maybe just do that with only seasonal items.
Ooh, that's a good idea.
And then in my regular booth, just have all year round items. But I don't know. I've been thinking about it, so we'll see.
You should definitely do that, Tam, because since the antique booth is all you do, like you don't do eBay or anything, I think you'd be really successful at that.
I don't know. We'll see. I'm doing good to keep up with this. If I can just get my organization under wraps, I might consider doing that. And I also wondered too about this, and Jen, you might be able to answer this. Did you know, like when you went from a single booth to a bigger booth, did you note were your sales different, or were they about the same? Do you think that affected your sales anyway, or?
I think just for the sheer volume, the sales were better, but I don't know, I got to a point where I felt like my quality wasn't enough. I mean, it wasn't as good as it should be, because when you have a smaller space, you get a little more picky about what you're picking up, and you're not just like, oh, just grab it, I got space to fill.
Yep.
So I think that's something that I found, is that I ended up having, a lot of stuff where I was filling space.
Yeah.
So the funny thing is, the first place I was at where we had a double booth, before we quit, and then over the summer, then we started in the new place in September. We've been there 2 years now. That my sales are actually better in my single space than I had when I had two spaces at the other place. So I'm very happy with that. Plus, I got eBay going on now, and I didn't have that when I had the double booth.
Right.
There's no way in a million years I could have had a double space, 200 square feet, and have a store on eBay. There's just no way in the world that I could do that. So, but if I didn't sell on eBay, I probably would have a bigger space.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Me too.
Yeah, definitely. Because I don't know. I just got to a point where it just seemed like you'd go in and you'd have empty space and you're like, oh man, I got to find more stuff. I got to hurry. Plus, since we were in a co-op situation with the first place as well as the place we're in now, is that we had to work. That was part of our rental agreement. So you have to work 2 days per space. So we were having to work 4 days. So I know that sounds crazy, 4 days a month, but I mean, when you're trying to source for that big of a space and you got to work, that was something we had to consider too. And at the time before we left there, my mom became bedbound. And so, Mama took priority over everything else. So that was another consideration. It's like, we just can't be doing this. You could hire other vendors to work the day, but still, it was a lot. So you're paying money, you're paying with your time, and so it depends. But there are people in our new space that literally have 3 to 4 booths. So when you go in and the store's open, they're there. They're always there. So that's a big consideration. So, and I guess going on and talking about what season sells best, that kind of seems a little an obvious question, but so far, Tam, how are the other seasons worked out for you? Since you started in February, I guess did you do spring and summer stuff then?
I had a few things, not a whole lot, but to tell you the truth, this year, the best time that I have, the most, I guess the best I've done has been, what are we in, October?
Yep.
The best 3 months has been June, July, and August for me. For this year so far. So that's not really, I don't really consider that, it's summer, but it's not really a, I guess holiday season. But yeah, the summer has been awesome for me. So
that's good, because usually, you got the summer slump and a lot of people are just not shopping. They're not shopping at Walmart. They're not shopping in antique malls. They're not shopping on eBay. They're doing weddings, graduation parties, vacations, yard work. So there's a lot of reasons that people aren't. So I'd be interested to see how you do, fourth quarter and, into January and February. Last couple of years, I think I've done better even in January and February than I did fourth quarter.
Yeah.
So, so it'll be interesting to see. If you think summer was good, you're probably going to do really good.
Right.
On these.
And I'm wondering too if summer was so good because, like I said in the last episode, I'm allowed to sell clothing in my antique booth, and I do sell a lot of designer purses. So I'm wondering if during those months, if people were looking for like back to school stuff, or, people were getting geared up for fall and were looking for new clothing or new purses, or,
Well, plus you got, if you have certain type of items that sell for dorm rooms. So,
that's true.
Storage things and little tables, little desks, anything you could be using in, a dorm room situation. So,
right, and a lot of the hipsters shop at antique malls and are looking just for those kind of unique items like that to decorate with their dorm rooms or their house.
Yeah.
Yeah, funny enough, we just had a new vendor move in, and he is probably in his early 20s. And he has such a great eye for older stuff. And I don't mean to sound old and say, oh, it's so nice to see young people like it's true, Somebody come in, and like if you were to look at his booth, and I'd say, okay, what kind of vendor's selling there? You wouldn't describe this young guy, but he's got a really nice eye for stuff. So he's a really nice addition to our mall. So Tanya, you've been doing this longer. Let's move our way up from Tam to Tanya doing it longer. What seasons aren't so great for you, or what seasons are better?
I would have to say, well, for me, like October, November, and December, November, December, January are usually really good for me. And then also the months that we have the whole mall has their really big sale. I usually do really good when we run sales because I deeply discount stuff. Sometimes, well, most of the time up to 40% off. And we do that, let me see, we do it in July, and I think we do it in March, July, and December, I think. So those are always really good months for me as well. The bad months would probably be like, I don't know, I want to say the summer, like maybe May,
Yeah.
April, May type, June.
Yeah, it's funny too because starting up like Tam, that time of year, I think some people can get in and get really discouraged because they move in and it's like, I thought I was going to sell stuff, and it's like you can't judge, resell in a physical space or a retail space by the summer months because that's because some people, like, I'm sure you've had it in your malls where somebody comes in, they're there like a month, 2 months, and then you go by and everything's out, and you're like, holy
they're
cow,
gone. How
in the world do you have time to figure out the pulse of how things work or anything? That's crazy.
And I will have to say, I've got something to add to that. When I first started my antique booth, which was in February, the antique mall owner, she told me, she said, now, usually February is a really tough month. She said, so, if you don't sell really good, don't get discouraged because we still have the spring months coming up and it usually picks up then. And so I was like, oh, okay. So actually February, I made my rent and I had a little bit extra. And then March, I made my rent again and I made more. And then May, I made my rent. So it kept going up and up and up. And it's stayed pretty consistent. It's kept going up, and now it's staying pretty consistent,
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
you can't get discouraged especially when you start in a month like that. So
yeah, I think as an antique mall owner, you've been doing it for a while, that you got certain times where sales dip. So when somebody comes in at that time of year, it's like, don't panic.
Yeah.
Right. Because
Yeah.
people could come. It all kind of boils down to expectations. When you go in and what are you expecting? Are you expecting to make $1 million? Are you just glad to be getting rid of things? Are you just happy you made your rent? Or it has a lot to do with how you feel when you go in and what you think's going to happen and what you consider success. So any time of year, that's going to be something that you have to really take into consideration. Talking about what sells not so well is spring. I know around here, spring could be 1 day, spring could be 3 days. In one of my videos recently, I said spring is a very short season and it's very confusing. So, last May in this area, it snowed. So.
Oh my goodness. Did you say in May?
It was May because I was flipping back through my
oh wow.
And I saw on my Twitter feed in May, I said snow in May, and I had a picture and I said, May, you suck. So it's like stuck in my head. So, I don't know, people see, happy spring, it's nice to think about spring when, there's snow up to your eyeballs in February or March. But as far as buying things and decorating your house, it just doesn't seem to do that well. So that's something I rarely buy specifically for. Garage Sale Flip says, y'all ever get into a pricing battle with other booths? Tam, do you see that happening in your place at all?
No, not really. I have seen other vendors, and I've done this myself, come in and they'll say, and like if you have something that's similar to what somebody else has, or if you have something exactly like somebody else has, and I've done this too, I'll go and see how much they have on it.
Yeah, me too.
But not really any like pricing battles that I know of.
Yeah, that you know of, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Tanya? Do you see that at your place at all?
No, not really. I have had other vendors come up to me and say, oh, I would put more on, mark that item up a little bit more or something like that. But no outright pricing wars, like, that I'm aware of.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny. The only people who ever told me that or said, "Wow, you need to mark this up a little, or you need to mark this down a little." Those, the people that say you need to mark it up are ones who have prices in their booth that like would make you pass out. They're so high.
Oh yeah,
So
right.
I don't know if they're telling you that to help you, or if they're saying, "Hey, people look at your booth and they have an expectation, and they come to mine and go, oh my gosh, that's too much." So I mean. I don't know what that's about. I guess in our business too, there's such a wide variety of stuff.
Yes.
That to find something exactly like you have, same color, same item, same condition, doesn't happen all that often, in my experience. So that's the good variety here. It's not like you go into Walmart and there's shirts you expect to pay a certain price, or there's 20 of them. It's a whole different expectation when you come into our space. There are certain items that people seem to buy. Even if you have like a scale, kitchen scale, you got different colors, different decorations, different conditions. So there's really just so much variety. The only thing is, sometimes occasionally I'll look in somebody's booth and I'll go, I have an item just like that. I'm going to see what the price is.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and it's mine.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait a minute, that's mine. How did they get over here?
Oh yeah. Like
as
somebody
far
picked
as-
it up and misplaced it, but just set it down and someone else.
Yeah,
took it.
or they
Yeah.
walk and go, I'm not really feeling it, and they just set it down. So, but that's it happens.
I find other people's stuff in my booth all the time.
Yeah. It is funny too, now that it's my sister and I that share the space. I know when it's something she brought in that I don't recognize, as opposed to, something that someone just set down, because I'll walk up and I'll go, oh, did she buy that and put that in here? Oh, it's somebody else's. So, yeah, because I know her taste and how she buys things. So when I see something, I automatically know if it's something she brought in or if it's just found its way into our space.
Hey,
Let's
Jen,
see.
I wanted to ask, do you, like when you all, does your vendor mall, are they able to separate yours and your sister's sales? Or do you all just, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we have, in our mall, we can have two separate numbers. So she has a number, I have a separate number. And the only time that would be an issue is like, we don't really run that many sales, but if we were to run a sale, it would either have to be both of us or neither of us, so you can't go in and say, make sure it says this number, that would be
right.
frustrating for a customer. But then when it goes into the computer, it goes under two separate numbers, and then she gets a report in her check, I get a report in my check, and then since we have a single space, 10 by 10 feet, we have 2 days we have to work, so she does one, I do one, so that makes it easy. Well, but yeah, separate numbers.
So whenever I first got my antique booth, when I first originally got it, I was doing it with my grandmother, and so we had one booth number, but our item number was different. So for example, an item of mine would say like T-102, and my grandma's item, her name's Shirley, so hers would say like S-100. So that's how we differentiated that. And then whenever we got our check, of course, they weren't going to separate our checks for us. So we just had to tally what was hers and mine's, and then I would cash it and then just give her the cash for whatever was her, her sales.
And how long ago was this, Tanya?
My grandma and I got the booth, I want to say in spring of 2015.
Oh, so pretty recent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or 2014, I can't remember. I want to say it was 15 though when we first started.
Maybe the vendor mall didn't have the software to be able to split it like that or something.
I don't think they do either, because a friend of mine that lives in Austin, his antique mall, he can actually look online and see what has sold. I think that is so awesome. But I can't do that. Like if I want to know, I got to drive over there and ask for a report.
I can look online. Yeah.
That is so nice.
see,
I wish so much they'd get that software.
Yeah, ours doesn't have like a where you can go and look at the list, but they'll send a report on Friday and Sundays. So on Friday you get the report and it has what's sold up to that point.
Like in an email?
So that's yeah.
That's
so
nice.
Yeah, suggest it to your to your mall owner. It's something very easy
I'm gonna ask.
to do. Yeah, and if you need any more information, I can give you, our owner's information and maybe they can help. They always like to help. If somebody else is doing the business or whatever, then, give
That'd be
advice.
awesome.
But that works out really nice to be able to just, get it and look at it. So that's good. The other thing is, I was going to say is when Kim and I first started, we had one number, and some mall owners are more, nope, you're in one space, you got to have one number, because that's more paperwork. It's more paper they got to print.
Yes.
Kind of understand that, but our mall owner now is like, fine, however you want to do it, that works fine. But when we had one number, we actually had an area for a stock number, and we were able to put our initials and maybe a few numbers or something in that. So literally we would get the report, we would sit down and start separating out, and that was a lot of work.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because then you have the percentage that they take, which is 10% for the contract we signed.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, if somebody used a credit card, then that's an additional 3 to 5% off, that we get charged for that. So, that was a accounting nightmare to have to do that.
Yeah, nickel and diming you to death, huh?
Oh, so yeah, but as far as sitting there and separating, it was tough.
So Jen, it sounds like that it seems like little thing. Your antique mall charges for like little things.
Yeah, it's funny because
what are some of the things that they charge for extra?
Like if you go into like the single size booth we have, you pay this amount. We pay $160, and then they take 10% of our of sales. Or I'm not sure what the number is, but we could pay a little more, and then they would take no percentage off. So have that choice. If you have electricity in your booth and you choose to use it, that's an additional cost. If you each booth pays a certain amount per month that goes directly to the ad team to pay for advertising. We also pay like $1 or $2 per month per space for them to collect all of our sales tax. That's something you could do yourself. Why on earth you'd want to do that?
Yeah,
is beyond me. And then credit cards, our old place charged 5%, and our new place charges only what they pay, which is 3%. So, because that's why some stores are like, you can only, use a credit card for this amount, or it has to be above this amount, because you're paying for that privilege to accept credit cards.
Right.
So a lot of people who aren't retail don't know that, but ours is 3%. So,
that's interesting, because my antique mall, they like whatever we pay for our booth rental covers all that, with the exception of she charges 10%. She gets 10% of all of our sales, and then we pay. For my booth, it's $100 a month, and then plus 10% of my sales. But as far as like credit cards and different things like that, she doesn't charge. That's just included in the cost of our booth.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah. Yeah, everybody does it a little bit different. That's why, if somebody is contemplating getting a space, they should really ask all those questions.
Yeah, exactly.
Because, yeah, it's kind of like one of those, hey, I want to get this hotel room for the night. I get there and they're just talking about that on the news about, you have this tax and that tax and a city tax and a state. So by the time you walk away from that, you're like, holy cow, it's way more than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I guess to emphasize to people to think about not only holiday items or seasonal items, but this is gift giving season. So, don't neglect buying or stocking with things that can be given as gifts that are all year round type of things. So are there, to start with you, Tam, are there anything that you find yourself picking up or wanting to put in the booth that would be, specifically not seasonal, but, would be good for gift giving, or is it just whatever you can get your hands on?
I've picked up a couple things for the Christmas season, some things that are new in the package that I thought people might want to give as gifts, if they were shopping in there for somebody a gift. I did notice one thing, and I thought this was really interesting, and I tried to find stuff to be able to do this next year, but during the spring, like leading up to Easter of this past year, we had a vendor that had, they were big, like plastic eggs, and the top was clear and the bottom was a color. And what she done was she filled that with like little small toys and candies and then wrapped a bow around it and put those in her booth. And for people that wanted to, like, say if they were going to get a little something for their like niece or nephew or grandchild or something for Easter, instead of a whole Easter basket, they had this little egg that they could give them. And she sold a ton of those.
Oh, wow.
And
That's
I guess it was because they were small and it wasn't a big giant Easter basket. And I think she sold them for like, I think she had like $5.99 or $6.99 on them, which is a perfect price for something like that.
Right. Reckon where she got those eggs at?
I don't know, but I found some after Easter and I counted on those. Because I'm going to do that next year.
Yeah, it's funny. It seems like there's some people who like to would for Easter would like to do all that stuff themselves, and then there's other people like just hand me the egg. Here you go, kids.
Yeah.
So there's some people that like to do the putting things together themselves, and then there's other people who are just I always laugh tell my husband there's certain men, the ones who are buying gas station roses. There's a reason there you are. I grab one for your wife or whatever. You know what I mean? So there are people who like to just do things convenient wise, and then there's other people who, they take a pleasure in putting together a gift and, selecting the right bow and, making it look a certain way. And,
Yes.
so you got different kinds of people, and to cater to, the different kinds is it's however you choose to do it. We have a couple of questions. Garage Sale Flip said, saw a cool promotion an antique booth place did. They put free price tags on some items to encourage people to really look hard at every item. That's really cool. That's something similar to what our booth did. I think it's in like the second week of December. Our mall does a customer appreciation day where we're open on a day that we're not normally open. We're closed Monday and Tuesday, so I think it's a Tuesday that we're open. And they do like a big media blitz and, Facebook and everything. Hey, come on in. We'd love to have, you come in. And they would do, I think last year they did, they cut out little holly leaves and you put the price tag on it and then you stick it on your item. So those items would be discounted or, so that encouraged people to be, rummaging around and looking for those.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah, so we did something similar to that. And, since we've only been open 2 years, we've had a really good turnout for that. So we're planning on doing that again this year. And it's doesn't count towards your work days, but come in and volunteer for, the morning shift or the afternoon shift to make sure the store is sufficiently staffed. But yeah, that's a lot of fun because we had a lot of good turnout for that. So
I bet.
that is Garage Sale Flips. That is a very good idea. And I have seen people put a few free stickers on things like puzzles or, that kind of thing. And if people know you do that, then, you'll get some more traffic. So, it's like anything else. It's holding up shelf space. If it's something you want to do or not, then, but definitely you can get rid of stuff if you want to do that.
Yes, definitely.
Another Dan Wright, does this channel only discuss booth dealer topics? I like the idea. Thank you. On this particular video series, yes, we're all booth owners, and that's mainly what we're discussing. But if you go to Tam's channel, Tanya's channel, or my channel, we'll do booth tours, we'll do hauls, garage sale, thrift store hauls, follow me around kind of things, different hints and tips for on internet antique space as well as eBay. So if you go to our individual channels, we talk about a lot more. Plus, I got to plug my channel. Each week, my sister and I do a podcast called Two Sisters, One Booth, and that talks just about booth topics. So after we're done here, I'm going to be uploading another episode. And I think in the next week or two, because we're like 1 or 2 weeks ahead, we have an episode coming up talking about, are your sales slow? And it's geared toward people who have been doing this a little while, and they've been doing good, and then things are kind of slumping a little. So we have a lot of information on there as to, different things you can do to, kickstart your sales again. So a little shameless self plug there.
No, it's a great podcast.
Yeah, it is.
Now here's a good question, because this is something our mall does. Does your store have a restocking day that you can go in where there's no customers, or a day that the store is not normally open that you can go in and restock? We have, I think, one seasonally, and then this time of year we're going to have two, like one right after Halloween, and then one right after Christmas. So is that something your mall does, Tanya?
No, they don't. So I guess we can only really come in and work during work hours. Mm-hmm. And they're closed on Mondays. So usually I'll try and either get up there one day during the week, or sometimes I'd like to go up there on Sundays and do a little work because my husband's with me and he can reach the taller stuff, like if I want to hang a picture or something. So I like it when he goes with me, and he can also help me carry heavy stuff too.
Yeah.
So.
What about you, Tam? Does your store offer that ever?
No, I'm just like Tanya. My antique mall's open 7 days a week. And so if we want if we want to go in there and, rearrange or move stuff around, we have to do it during business hours. That's one thing I don't particularly like. I wish that they would give us, even if it's only like 1 day a month, or if they'd be open a little bit later, just for antique booth owners to come in and rearrange and do, even if it's just for a couple hours, that would really help out a lot. Because I hate going in there and trying to, like, if I want to rearrange my whole booth and give it a whole new look, I have to do that when people are in there shopping, and I don't like doing that.
Right.
Yeah.
But, it is what it is. I mean, I just make do and do it. But I wish that they had a time that was specific for only booth owners and not customers that could come in there and just rearrange their stuff if they wanted to. It make things a little bit easier. So
yeah, our previous mall never had something like that, and our new place does. Like you said, if you're moving like a major piece, or my sister and I have two like brown shelves on the back of our booth that we're going to be putting in shelving. And there's no way you can do that when the store's open. You just go in, and if there's customers and you got dust and stuff flying, people aren't going to want to step in.
Yeah.
So, you do run the risk of losing, some of those sales. Because whenever my sister and I are there restocking, we don't have name tags. We're not dressed a certain way. So if a customer comes in, we step out. So, what normally would probably take us maybe half hour, 45 minutes to get something done, of course, can take twice as long.
Right.
Because every time somebody comes in, you step out. I guess the solution to that would maybe, see if the mall, if they open like an hour before the store does, or maybe a time of day or a day of the week that's, less busy, and just get up there when that's going on. Or if you're moving something big, maybe do it in stages, maybe go in one day and take everything off the shelf, and maybe the next day then go in and actually switch out displays. I guess you'd have to get more creative. because
Right.
of that. So, I mean, just going in and doing something an entire day and having no customers going into your, your shop, that would be tough.
So Jen, I have a question for you. So on those days that you and your sister work and it's just the vendors up there, do you ever find yourself like talking with the other vendors? Do you ever?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, see, to me that would
Yeah.
be so fun to talk to all the vendors and like find out what their strategies are and what they're stocking their booths with. That would be the perfect time to see, right? See what everybody's putting in.
Yeah, it's really good too because if you have any questions, who's selling a lot of glassware, who really knows about signs, who's really good at this or that. So I mean, it is a wealth of information that you can tap and ask. Talking to the other vendors as well as customers. You don't really get that much of a chance to do that. If you're there and you see somebody come through with something and you can tell they're excited about it and it's not necessarily decorated, say, oh, what are you going to do with that? It's kind of a time to pick everybody's brain while you're there.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll even talk to, if somebody comes in my booth, they'll stop and they'll go, oh, is this your space? And you're like, yeah. And they're like, oh, I always save this booth for last, or I just love this particular item, or I always look at your fabric. So it's kind of nice to get in touch with your customers and get that feedback, mostly positive. I think I've told this story before when a husband and wife were walking and my sister and I stepped out and the wife started going in and looking and the husband just stood back and looked. And he goes, look at all this crap. And me and Kim just about fell out laughing. I'm like, well, that sounds like a husband.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
So, if you're not there a lot or you come in and restock and leave right away or you're not working there, that's some of the stuff you kind of miss. So,
Well, stuff like that would be okay to miss, right?
Yeah. So, that's something definitely to go in and talk. I mean, there are a few vendors that work 9-to-5 jobs. We're always there during the week and they work on the weekends. So there are some vendors, unless it's like a store function, once in a while we'll have like a come in, bring some food. We'll talk about how the store's doing and go over the sales numbers, maybe once a year. That's when I see people and I'm like, I have no idea who they are. I've never seen them. Or if you come in on the weekend, there's somebody that's like, can I help you with that? And you're like, oh, I'm a vendor, So there's just some people vendors I just never see or never talk to because they're always in on the weekends. So I guess too, another question is you kind of have a schedule of going in and restocking or straightening. This being a busier time of year, Tanya, do you find that you go in more often or you're there a little longer or, does your routine change at all this time of year?
I think that is a great question. And if I could get a fire under my booty, I do need to be getting up there more often, I feel like. Right now, it's been really horrible. I'm not even kidding. Lately, it's been like once every 3 weeks. It's just been really bad. But I definitely need to be up there once a week, stocking with new stuff, rearranging stuff, taking stuff down to take to consignment that's been there too long. A booth is a lot of work. I mean, people think that you just stock it and then you leave and wait for the sales to roll in, but it's a lot more than that. It really is a lot of work. I mean, if you want to do well, you really have to baby your booth and take care of it.
I always say you have to work your booth, and that's true. Because it's funny because I would say probably 50 to 60% of our customers are customers who are there all the time. So they come in and, it's not like everybody that comes in is like, oh, wow, I've never been here before. There are people who come in and if they walk the store and they see a booth doesn't look like anything's moved, then their assumption is nothing new, same old stuff, just keep walking. So that's something that, you're not just catering to people who are walking in fresh. There are people who come in regularly and if they don't see stuff moving, then they just might keep walking. So it is something that you have to keep on. So I'll slap you around, Tanya, get you going. So So Tam, I mean, this being your first fourth quarter and, you know, first fall and winter season, are you going to do anything different than you have been up till now?
Well, back to when you said you go any more often around the holidays, I think that with me, because, and you said that you can check your sales online, Jen?
Yeah, well, I get the reports on Fridays and Sundays.
Okay, so I can go on and check every day, every night after like 6:30. I think it's posted on there what we've sold for that day. So I just kind of follow that. And if I haven't sold much, you know, it depends. If I've sold a lot, then I'm like, oh, I need to get down there and check everything out, make sure everything's straightened up, and then I might need to take a few new things.
Yeah.
So I guess looking at that report every day really helps as far as letting me know how often I need to go down there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, especially
I
if you
agree.
have like, you know, a larger piece of furniture or a larger piece of art or something, because you know,
Right.
if you sold that, you know, that big sofa painting, you're going to have a big spot open. So that makes you think, okay, I got a few pictures downstairs. I better, you know, grab up enough to fill that space.
Right.
So yeah, that's very helpful in that way. I think even if you know, go out and you restock and straighten once a week, you should at least try and go out a second time just to straighten. Because when people, you know, when you go in and it looks like a bomb hit the booth, you know, in a way,
Yeah.
you know, in a way, you're kind of like, oh, but then you think people are in here, they're looking at stuff, they're moving stuff around. That's a good sign because it means people are in there rummaging around looking at stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many
No.
times I walk in and people set down their Starbucks cup, like their coffee cup,
Yeah.
or a soda
Yeah.
cup, candy wrappers. I mean, come on, that's so rude.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know. You know, you just wonder about people. There are some people, when I see them do stuff like that, I'm like, I would hate to see your house. I can only imagine. If you do that in public, what you'd be doing at your house where nobody's looking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, even if you know, make an attempt to go in there and just, you know, buzz in for even 15, 20 minutes, you know, if something fell on the floor or, you know, if there's an obvious space of something missing, you can kind of, you know, move things around and fill it in. So if you do add that second time a week, you know, it's not like you're going to go in there for a whole nother hour or whatever. I mean, that's, you know, it's only going to take a few minutes to just buzz in and, you know, give it a quick fluff, you know, and make sure
Right.
everything looks reasonable. So yeah, that's usually what we do. So I guess we'll direct this one at Tam. Since she's the newbie of the bunch, this is going to be your first quarter. What are you doing to kind of change things up, or do you have any special plans?
No, not really. Just getting through this first year to see how everything goes. Not really any plans to, I'm just going to keep doing what I've been doing. I'm really excited to see how the Christmas season goes, though. So I've got several things that I had collected for Christmas. I'm interested to see what things sell and what doesn't sell, because that will help me next year as far as my garage selling and thrift stores and, you know, all kinds of things like that. One thing that I would like to do is I would like to figure out some kind of spreadsheet, because I don't do that right now. I don't do a spreadsheet and list everything. I tried doing it a little bit and it was too much. I've got to get some kind of program on my computer where I can put all that in and put the price, so that way I can keep track of everything too.
Yeah.
So that's probably the biggest thing that I'm working on, is that, and getting my garage organized so I can find everything.
Yeah. Oh, the idea of doing a spreadsheet for keeping inventory.
Right.
It just makes me cringe.
Me too, Jen. I don't want to do it. No.
I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I'd rather eat broken glass than do that, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? You got to do what works for you and what makes your paperwork easiest. You know, that's what you got to do. Let's see. Got junk in a trunk question. What percentage of your booth is large items like furniture pieces, etc., and how much percentage of smalls? Yeah, that really depends on your space. And and it depends if you are allowed to put furniture or larger items in any other part of the store. We have what they call a furniture gallery in the back of the store, and we are allowed to keep a certain, number, depending on, like, if you have a full booth, you can have, 2 furniture pieces, and they also have room to hang stuff up. You can have 1 large art item. So they keep track of that. And when that goes back there, no matter what percentage you pay, either nothing or 10, you have to pay 10% on the items that you put in that part of the store, because it is a common space and it is something the store is doing extra for you. So you could choose whether to do that or not. If you have a small space, it's hard to have a piece of furniture.
Yeah.
In my space, I can have like a little side table or a lamp, a taller lamp. But as far as having anything bigger than that, I really just don't have the room. So, I would say a large percentage of my booth would be considered smalls.
Yeah.
So Tam, what about you? I know you guys, your booth is smaller than 10 by 10. Tam, what size is yours, and how do you do that with furniture?
Mine is a 10 by 8. And I actually, right now, I do not have any furniture pieces in my booth at all. Like, I have some pretty big decor items, but I don't have any like furniture. My booth is just it's not big enough.
Now, does your store have a common space, or is that something if it has to go in your booth or not?
They actually don't have a common space, but something that they're going to do in the spring is they're going to put a greenhouse behind the antique mall, so that way you can sell people can sell plants and things out there.
Huh.
I think that's pretty neat. I don't know how well it'll go over, but I wish that we did have a place where designated, just like you have, where you can have just like a couple of larger pieces of furniture. I think that would free up a lot of people's space in their booths, because there are some people that have some furniture. It's not real big furniture, not like beds or whole table and chairs or anything like that, but they will have like a chair or like a small table with 2 chairs or a bar top with 2 stools or something like that, but not any big pieces of furniture. But I think that would free up space in a lot of people's booth. If they did have a space like that, that would be really cool.
Yeah.
And I would be willing to pay 10%. That's what I'd sell it for. Yeah, I would totally do that. Yeah.
Tanya, does your mall have a common space, or can you sell any larger furniture?
Well, really, my space is really about the size of my storage unit. So it's really about maybe a 5 by 10 size. So I can fit maybe a small side table or maybe 1 chair. But they used to have a commons area where you could do something like what you have, Jen, and then they did away with it. So there really isn't any place for me to fit any of the larger pieces.
Was there a reason? Did they give you a reason why they did away with it?
I think it was just taking up too much space, and they figured they could probably get more money by just opening that up and making it more booths available for the vendors.
Yeah. I know in our old place, they had a very large area in the back that was, for a common furniture room. And they ended up cutting that down severely to a much smaller size because the owner started doing auctions. So when I do auction hauls, that's where I'm getting some of those items from, is that particular auction house. So that was like, 60 to 70% of that whole area in the back, was changed. And that was done, I think, shortly before we ended up leaving there. So, but it's like anything else. You have some people who are following the rules and only putting, what they're supposed to. And then there's other people who keep just slipping stuff back there. There's somebody who's, oh, wait a minute, so-and-so, you got like 6 items back there. You can't be doing this, So unfortunately, it's kind of like babysitting sometimes, that you have to get on people and say, look, you gotta take some of the stuff out. It's just, you got too much back there. So, there's always somebody pushing the limits.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Let's see. Question from Tanya, or is that too? Are y'all decorating your booth?
Yeah, it's from me.
Okay, so no, I do just basically seasonally. I know Halloween is over the last probably 3 to 5 years has gotten like crazy crazy big with Halloween. You know, there's,
Yeah.
I mean, like you'll see stores just pop up just for Halloween. I know our Savers have new merchandise that come in that is costumes and makeup and jewelry and all stuff just geared toward Halloween. So I know it is a huge money making, you know, season, but I personally, I stick to natural. You know, my pumpkins don't have a face. My scarecrow is just a scarecrow. You know,
Yeah.
I don't really, you know, decorate specifically for Halloween. It is my husband's birthday, funny enough.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, so he's heard all the jokes. I tell him he's a treat, not a prick.
Happy birthday, Mr. Pudgy Picker.
I know. Yeah, it's coming up. So, Tam, did you or are you decorating for Halloween? You're just going seasonal stuff?
Like I said, I did put a couple things in there that are Halloween geared. I made a wreath with a witch in the center of it, and I put that in there. And then I made another wreath that's just like a feather. I took a feather boa and wrapped it around a straw wreath, and then I just added a big bow.
Oh, that's a good
Somebody
idea.
wanted to add
Pretty.
different stuff on there. And then a couple like glittery like pumpkins and stuff. But like as far as going all out decorate for Halloween, no.
Yeah, the only thing I do also is in the back of our booth, as they have like these two, you know, like 2x4s that help stabilize the walls.
Mhm.
I have cup hooks and things screwed into those so I can hang up, you know, wind chimes and other items. And we'll usually take like a fall leaf garland and just wrap it around there. So that's really only decorating, you know, non-for sale item that we ever do.
Yeah.
So, you know, something, you know, you could wrap lights up there or,
Yeah.
you know, so since they're always there, that's a good way to do it, you know. So I guess if you want to consider Tanya and I to be seasoned sellers, so do we have any advice for Tam for this time of year through the holidays? Tanya?
I would treat it just like you treat fourth quarter whenever you're trying to list like crazy and get all kinds of merchandise up and available for people to buy. I would just be stocking like crazy, which means you're going to have to be going up there a lot more often.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what I just thought about? You guys were talking about moving stuff around. And on my, like when you first walk in my booth, if you look to the left, I have like shelves. And right there on the end, I've decided just now while we're doing the show that I'm going to change whatever things are sitting there on the very end every single time I go in. I'm just going to move it around because like Jen said, there's people that probably go every single week. And if they just see the same things, they're not going to want to walk in.
Yep,
So.
that's true. Yeah, and something, Tam, you said that, you know, I'm not going to like call you out on it, but, you know, you said, this year I want to pay attention to what's selling and maybe, you know, source for next time. You know, that's a plan, but keep your eyes open for a lot of different things because I know when I first started, I was like, well, I'm going to buy this item and people are going to rip it out of my hands when I bring it in and put it in my booth.
Yeah.
And then there's other items you're kind of, yeah, I'll put it in my booth. There is no telling what people are going to buy. There's no telling what people are attracted to. It's just, even now, after doing this 9.5 years, I'm still surprised by when people buy something and, you know, or something's been sitting, like Tanya said, and then you move it to the front and all of a sudden it's a new item, you know? So, yeah. Or those times you look at something and you go, boy, it's been here a while. I'm going to have to do something with it. And you come back and it's gone. So, you know, yeah, you just don't know. And keeping stuff fresh and keep it moving. You know, we are selling things in a retail space. We are not stocking a museum.
Yes,
you know,
that's right.
And my sister, whenever she says we have to dust, I say, no, I don't want to dust. And she'll look at me and I'll say, I don't want it to be here long enough to gather dust. Although, you know, it does, but the plan is bring it in, move it out. You know, don't think your stuff is so valuable that you mark it so high that it's going to sit there and look at you forever. I mean, you know, because you got all three of us have piles of stuff that we need to take out, and, you know, mark it down, move it out, take it to consignment show, you know, donate it, you know, do what you got to do, you know, sell it in a different platform, put it on eBay, you know, sell it on Craigslist. I mean, there's so much stuff out there, and we have so much ready to go out. You know, you just want to keep churning and keep, you know, putting it out and moving it on.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's my best advice is, you know, to just, you know, keep chucking it out there. You know, you don't own, not everything you sell is museum quality. You know, not everybody is willing to pay $1 million. You know, if something is so specific and you have it priced so high, you know, you may be sitting on it for a while. So, yeah, so that's, you know, the.
And actually, I've got a funny story. I had it was a silver platter, and I had it on an easel, and it's been in my booth since probably March. It sold 2 weeks ago. So it's been in there that whole time. And I thought, no, I'm just going to keep it in there. I'm going to keep it in there. Finally, it sold. And then something else too, sometimes when I'll go out thrifting, I'll look at something and I'll be like, oh, why did I buy that? Nobody is going to buy that. Why did I purchase that? And I'll put a price on it, stick it in my booth. It sells in like a week.
Yeah.
You're crazy.
So you just never know what people are going to buy. You don't know.
Yeah.
Right.
I know one year at a garage sale I had, this is a long time ago, I had a box of stuff and I had a lid. It was like a to a clay. I don't even know where it came from. And I was ready to toss it. And I thought, I'll just put a quarter on it. And a lady came in and she picked it up and she's like, oh my gosh, I have a pot that this goes to. And I just broke my nuts. And I'm thinking, now I almost threw that in the trash. You know, I could have probably put $20 on there and she would have bought it, but you just don't know. You just, you know what I always say, it's the trinity of resale. You have the right price, right person, and right time. And on eBay or in a booth, you know, you got those three things meet together, and that's when the sale happens. So, well, we have some more questions. I think Tanya says she has a tip to give. What would that be, Tanya?
I would. So I wanted to encourage you guys when you're at the thrift stores or garage sales to pick up those vintage blow molds. I have sold that tall Santa Claus blow mold in my booth at least twice now. For about $50 to $60. So they really sell, and people think that they're not valuable because they're old decorations and nobody wants them. But there are people out there who collect those blow molds.
What is blow mold? What is that?
Like look at me looking around like I have one beside me or something. I do have a whole bunch of them. If I knew I was going to talk about it, I would have brought one. But they're like the old hard plastic yard decorations.
Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking about. Some of them have lights in them.
Yes. Always pick those up whenever you see them because they will sell. And I put them in my booth and people buy them.
They buy them in your booth. Okay, I'll keep an eye out for that. Thanks for the tip.
A lot of people in my mall sell those. And in fact, it's funny because last year it was like right after summer, I was looking through the Craigslist, the free ads, and somebody had like 5 or 6 of them, and it was like, they're on the curb, come get them.
Oh my gosh.
I went out there, and there's literally like 4 cars pulled up, and everybody's like fighting over them.
Oh,
so
my
they
gosh,
didn't know what they had, or they could have sold them, but I'm like, you know, there's some things that are worth getting in a fist fight for, and that's not one of them.
Yes, drive on.
That was fun. Yeah, that lady was probably looking out her window and just laughing.
She was probably going, dang, I wonder if those are worth anything.
Yeah. Tanya was also asking about my my Chihuahua. What is it called? Intarsia. I have it listed, and I haven't had any nibbles on it yet. But again, it's right person, right price, right time.
What do you list it at?
Oh, I think I might have put like 40 or 50
Oh, I
on
think
it.
that's a great price.
Yeah, so I figure, you know, I don't have, you know, offers, but, you know, I'll wait a while, and then if I happen to get one, I'll decide what I want to do. But yeah, that was funny timing, wasn't it? I had people commenting on mine going, did you see Tanya's video? You know, she just talked about that.
Oh my gosh. I really freaked out because I was watching Tanya's video, and I got a notification that you had just uploaded your Monday Savers Hall. And as soon as I got finished watching Tanya, I went over and watched yours, and you had that Chihuahua, and I was like, oh my gosh.
See, I never knew that's what it was called. So I immediately went to my listing and I put that in the title.
Yeah.
Because I had never heard of that, never knew what it was called. And, you know, it's one of those,
Yeah,
you know,
that's
something
awesome.
to learn along the way. Someday I'll be on a trivia show and win $1 million. And I'll give you some, Tanya, since you gave me the word. But, you know, I was reading, I always read before I go to bed. I was reading a book last night, and they talked about Cordovan boots. And I'm like, I know what that is. I know what that's, it's a horsehide. They make shoes and others. It's like a really expensive, high quality leather. Now, who would have known that? But that's some, you know, I think I learned it down the road. So as soon as I saw that, I'm like, I know what that means. So, yeah. So, you know, there's so much to know in this business. It's just
Endless.
it's just
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah. Well, we're going pretty long here, so let me see if we can finish up. We had a question, Tam, do you only do your booth, or do you also do eBay? And she said, sorry if it's already been asked. It hasn't been asked today, but Tam?
I don't do eBay. I do have an eBay account, but I don't currently have anything listed. I listed a few things, thought about trying it, listed a few things, see how it went. I sold like maybe one thing, but I haven't tried it again. I actually thought about opening an Etsy.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
you definitely need to do that.
I don't know.
It's a lot of work to have both. And
Yeah.
I think that what really helped me is when we left our old mall, we left I think at the end of May or the end of June. And then I just sourced all summer. And then when we got into our booth and opened our space September 1st. So that was the perfect time for me to source, get lots of stuff. So when I opened the new space, it was all new stuff. And also I built up my eBay inventory and got listing and got my store straightened around. So now, I mean, I'm listing, you know, a decent amount of stuff, but I already have, you know, this store that's already got a lot of stuff in it. So I think if I wouldn't have had that gap, that would have been very difficult to do. But it's nice to have more than one place to sell your inventory, because sometimes, you know, something will sell on eBay, but when it comes to the booth, not so much, or the other way around.
Right.
Or you think, man, I don't want to ship this, I'll put it in the booth.
Yes, exactly. That's me.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's, you know, but if you're on Etsy or you do any of the local Facebook selling places or anything, any of that stuff, the more places you have, you know, the more people you're reaching. So it's definitely, you know, down the road you might do that, Tam. It's not necessary, but you know, you may find that you want to do that, or, you know, whatever works for you.
Yeah, I would go ahead and open up your store at least, Tam. Get the ball rolling, even if you only list one item a week. You know what I mean? Just start building it, because it's definitely great to have that, you know, options and different platforms. Like if I'm selling something vintage on eBay, it's definitely going on Etsy too.
Right.
So I double post all the time like that. Now, if something's in my booth, well, I put it on eBay? No, because my booth is like 20 minutes away.
Yeah.
I hope I could get there fast enough.
Yeah.
We actually, that brings up a funny story. We actually, when I was at my old mall, we had a guy that was coming in and we kept seeing him take pictures of things. And it was kind of like, well, maybe he just, you know, wants to use a woodworker, wants to use stuff as a pattern. So after a while, I don't know how anybody figured it out, but what he was doing is he was going into the store, taking an item, taking pictures of it, listing it on eBay.
No
and then
way.
if it sold on eBay, he would come into the store and buy it and take it home and ship it out. Now, I mean, you're taking some risk there.
Oh my
But
God.
I just thought that was the funniest thing. I'm like, that's a really weird business model, but that's what he was doing.
Oh my
Talk
gosh.
about low overhead.
Yeah, isn't that weird? So that's pretty much all my questions. We do have another question in the chat. How do you display your smalls if you don't sell any furniture? I have furniture in my booth. I have shelves on the wall. You know, my display pieces are not for sale. Plus, you can have all kinds of creative ways of displaying things. I buy a lot of old colanders, so you can pop stuff in there. You know, baskets, interesting boxes, you know, vintage boxes, those kind of things. So that's what I use for displaying a lot of items. So, Tanya, what do you do if you don't sell a lot of furniture?
Well, as soon as you walk into my booth, I have 3 rows of shelves on either side. So I've got a ton of room for displaying the smalls. And then at the very back of the booth, I have a table there, and it's just full of displays, like for my jewelry. I even have a big bookshelf where I have just books. So tons of shelving, I guess, for me.
Yeah. So Tam, you too? You got
Yeah.
a lot of shelves?
Yeah, pretty much the same thing. I have a lot of shelving units, and I try to, like my jewelry and stuff, like all that monogram jewelry that I got from the jackpot yard sale. I have on the back of one of my display units, I have my husband built me a pegboard, and I painted it black, and I've got the little hooks on there, and I hang all of my jewelry, all that monogram jewelry on that. And so that helps
Are you
out.
selling any?
I have sold some, not a ton, but I have sold some. I feel like that will pick up as it gets closer to Christmas. I hope.
Yeah, because that'd be great gifts, right?
Yeah.
And stocking stuffers.
I have got it priced pretty reasonably. I've got, it's a earring and necklace, and it's the set for $5.99. Now you cannot beat that monogram jewelry, and I've got silver and gold tone.
Yeah,
So
I think that's just going to fly off the shelf for Christmas.
I hope so. Y'all keep your fingers crossed.
Yeah, it's funny with the with the displaying stuff. There's so many creative ways to do it. There's just some things that I don't do. I don't have boxes, cardboard boxes. I don't have, if it's some plastic containers, I don't mind, but some of them, Connor, can you grab that and just turn it off? I can't believe I got this far with only one phone call. So yeah, there's a ton of different ways to display stuff, and your imagination. And it's funny because I don't know, when I first saw that question, I'm thinking of just shoveling everything into the booth, and it's just in piles. So,
I actually have a video coming up pretty soon that I'm working on about how a good way to display scarves.
Oh, okay, good.
So it's a little kind of like a little DIY project. So
do those sell well for you?
They do in the season. Like usually when it gets, well, as far as since I've been doing it, in the spring that kind of slacked off.
What do you sell them? Like, what's your price point?
I try to keep them around, depending on the brand and the quality. I try to stay between like $5 and $7.
Okay.
Per scarf, yeah.
That's a
But
nice
they sold pretty good back in the winter. Like when I first started, I did sell a few scarves back then. And like I said, then it kind of slacked off. So I've got a whole bunch that I've thrifted over the summer and got washed and ironed and all that. So they're ready to go out. I just have to get my display piece fixed.
Yeah, I can't wait to see that, because that's definitely something that I've sold on my booth before, and I'd love to, I can't wait for your video. That'll be fun.
Yeah, definitely do a video on that. And if you have something that you have hanging up or whatever, or also a lot of the furniture or larger piece items that we have for display, I always tell people, put your vendor number on there and then put, NFS for not for sale.
Yeah.
Because I've gotten calls about a certain shelf that my father made, and it is huge. I don't even know how we fit it into the room where my mom had been using it. But he made that, and he's been gone for 10 years, and there ain't no way we'd ever sell that,
Right.
But we love that shelf, and it's really a nice display piece. And the back has a pegboard, so that's even something we can use on that too. So, but I always put, not for sale, because somebody will call, you don't have a price on this shelf. How much is it? So yeah, you gotta, so. Well, I appreciate everybody tuning in. We have 27 viewers, and I'm sure we'll get a lot more people watching it after this is posted. Remember to check out Tam's channel, Tam's Place, also Tanya's Thrifty Treasures, and me, Jen, Pudgy Picker. Check out our channels and see all the other different things that we do and all the different types of videos that we do. And can you guys think of anything else you need to add?
Well, next month, November, the first Wednesday, our show will be on Tam's channel, Tam's Place. So be sure and check us out over there. It's the first Wednesday of the month at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time, or what y'all's time?
12.
12.
Eastern Standard Time.
Yep. So we'll have to think of some difficult subject and, see if she can handle that,
I've already got some ideas in mind.
Okay, good.
That'll work. Okay, well, if nobody else has anything else to offer, please subscribe to our channels. We'll put the links down below. Also, smash that like button. Show us a little love. I know my son just laughed when I said
Thumbs up.
Smash it.
So we will see you next month. And so glad that you came by. So everybody, bye.
Bye.
Bye. See you all later.
Woo!